I never played Medieval when it was first released all the way back in 1998, but I've got a copy of the remake now, so I figured I might as well try it out. But it's a little bit weird for me to think about the fact that this game first came out more than 20 years ago, and I remember 1998 so well. Like, it seriously feels like it was only just yesterday that I was playing Duke Nukem 64 and eagerly awaiting the new Star Wars prequels. Speaking of which, Phantom Menace is an okay movie and it does not deserve the hate that it gets. Attack of the Clones, on the other hand, kinda does. Medieval has a wonderful story that I absolutely adore. Basically, long ago, the evil wizard Zarok threatened the land of Gallowmere, but he was defeated by the brave Sir Daniel Fortescue. At least, that's how it's recorded in history. In actuality, Sir Dan went down like a bitch in the first charge. When Zarok returns, he raises an army of the dead. But, either by coincidence or maybe by accident, he also brings Sir Dan back to life, who now has a second chance to earn his place in history. When you combine this story with the charming art and the music, which has some very serious Danny Elfman vibes, you have a game that looks and feels like it was ripped straight out of mid-90s Nickelodeon. The game has an atmosphere that's more spoopy than it is spooky, and it has a sense of humor that's fairly consistent throughout the entire experience. I really wish that more games would strive for humor. There just aren't enough games out there that are as funny as Medieval is. And in addition to being a very funny game, Medieval is also a lot of fun to play. We start off with a simple tutorial level that shows how progression will go throughout the entire game. Find runes to unlock gateways to get to the green mist that signifies the end of the stage. And that mist can usually be found pretty quickly and easily, but there are some great rewards for exploring the levels more thoroughly. In addition to finding the exit for every stage, each one also has a chalice that first has to be unlocked by killing enough enemies before you can go and collect it. These are usually pretty easy to find, and every time that you do find a chalice, you will be taken to the Hall of Heroes once the level is finished. And this is where the spirits of dead heroes of the past both ridicule Sir Dan and reward him with new weapons, gold, or health upgrades. It isn't necessary to find the chalice in each level, and technically you could get through the entire game without collecting a single one, but it is very much recommended as these rewards are all very helpful. Finding the chalice in each level usually involves a little bit of light puzzle solving, and all of these puzzles are all very simple, but also very rewarding. Every few levels, there is a boss that you have to fight, and I really like a lot of these. They're all very well designed and a lot of fun to actually fight. Between the puzzles and the boss fights, Medieval has a lot of similarities to The Legend of Zelda, but the artwork and the sense of humor gives this game its own identity, and even though there is a lot of obvious Zelda influence here, the game really doesn't feel like a Zelda clone. I wound up enjoying the gameplay in this a lot more than I thought I would. I've never really cared much for platformers, and that's kind of what I expected going into this, but it turned out to be more of a puzzle-solving hack-and-slash adventure game, and I fucking love that kind of shit. And I was also expecting that the story would be nothing more than context for the action on screen, but there's actually a narrative that unfolds as you play through these levels. The narrative isn't especially deep or meaningful, it really does just boil down to Sir Dan going from one place to the next, undoing the damage caused by Zarok, and finding items to open up new pathways. But the story is very much structured like an RPG, with the way that many of these levels form smaller story arcs that all feed into the larger narrative. Even though the narrative is there, the game is still clearly focused on gameplay. Combat is a big part of gameplay, with a large variety of weapons in your arsenal, and just as much of a variety of enemies that teach the player how each weapon is used. Weapons can also be used to solve environmental puzzles and open up new pathways. Killing enemies is a lot of fun, but I can't help but feel like I'm just kind of randomly flailing around most of the time. And speaking of random shit, I encountered a couple of bugs where Sir Dan would just sort of get stuck on the environment, or the camera would decide to just kind of stay where it is for a little while. Each level of the game is interconnected, rather than just existing as the next place that you go to. You can see how the levels are connected on the map, and some levels have items that unlock new pathways, and these items aren't always found in the same level that they're used in. Every level takes about 15 minutes or so to complete, and that is a perfect length for me. It's not so long that anything feels like a chore to redo when you screw up and die, but it also isn't so short that the levels start to feel pointless. And I really enjoyed each level, except for this asylum level here, where you just have to fight wave after wave of dudes. And again, I do like the combat, but I feel like it works a lot better when it's paired with the light puzzle solving, rather than just on its own. I've never really been a completionist by any stretch of the imagination, but this was one of those rare games where I wanted to keep playing it after I beat the final boss. When I first started playing, I kind of expected myself to just go through it once and then move on, but this wound up being one of the only 4 or 5 games that I've ever got the Platinum Trophy for. Towards the end of the game, you unlock the ability to find lost souls, which are new to this remake. There is 1 lost soul in each level. Once you find the soul, you then have to take it to a different level to lay it to rest. These are all clearly added just to pad out the game, but finding all of the souls and laying them all to rest will unlock the original PS1 version of the game, and that was good enough motivation for me. Since the game was basically making me play each level 2 or 3 times, I figured may as well get all these other trophies while I'm at it. And it was actually a lot easier to get this Platinum Trophy than I anticipated. The only one that gave me any real trouble was the trophy that you get for dodging all the boulders that roll down this hill. Playing through the original game after playing the remake was a very interesting experience. While the level design is incredibly faithful to the original, the graphics are updated to match the artwork a little bit better, and the controls are a big improvement. This truly is the modernization of a very old school classic that really didn't age all that well. I milked this game for every bit of content that it's worth, and I love just about every second of it. I really hope that the developers get a chance to remake the second game as well, because the original PS1 version of that can be kinda hard to find these days. And I know that there was also a third game that was planned but eventually scrapped, and I think it would be amazing if the developers could go back and finish up the trilogy while they're at it. Thank you so much for watching my review of Medievil. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and let me know about it in the comments down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. I upload every Saturday. Follow me on Twitter, and I hope to see you next time.